and that's how Landbot was originally born, as a bug in our live chat that would skyrocket our conversion rate and our customers. They were not really, getting the big potential behind. They were just angry. We fixed it and it was okay. But in our case, it was like, hey, we went from I think we were converting at a 5%, and we went from a 5 to a 27% conversion rate.
Wow.
From out of 100 visits to our homepage, 27 of them were leaving their email, which was just mind blowing.
Hey, Cris, welcome to the show.
Nice to be here, Todd.
Yeah, no, the pleasure is all mine. Well, let's start off with a basic introduction. Who is Cris?
Yeah, so I'm one of the co-founders of Landbot. I'm currently also leading the customer success team.
Yeah, cool. So maybe you can tell us, for people that don't know, what is Landbot? Which customers are you serving? And anything you can help us understand.
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know about Landbot, so Landbot is a no-code chatbot builder for lead generation. So for companies that are trying to automate some of their lead generation, scoring, qualification, conversion processes, and they want to do it fast with no code or no technical resources needed, they can just create a Landbot in minutes and deploy it on their website, instant messaging channels, etc. So it's really leaning towards marketing and product teams that are looking for a better conversion rate or better qualification for their leads that get onto the sales team. So it's all about that top of the funnel where you capture leads, you qualify them, and all automate it.
Yeah, cool. And maybe you can just share, for additional context, the size of the company, revenue, anything you're comfortable sharing.
Absolutely. So we are 50-ish right now, I think around 53 or 54 big hiring plans for 2021. Currently, our revenue is a bit more than 3 million ARR. And and we got big plans again for 2021. We basically need to double our headcount and our revenue, which is easy peasy. And
if I had a pound for every time I'd heard that, our goals are to double MRR this year. It's like, okay,
exactly. And we're growing at a very, very steady but interesting rate month after month. And I think we got around 2,500 customers, more or less, paying customers. We got thousands of free tier users. We really believe in the power of freemium models and how tools can really add value even if you don't pay for them. And that's basically where we are.
Cool. And you're based in Barcelona, right?
We're based in Barcelona. We got people working from different locations within Spain, and a couple of now we got some extra people working from Portugal, Taiwan, some other countries. But I would say plus 90% of our team is in Spain, probably around 60% of them in Barcelona. But right now, most of them are working on a remote schedule. So
Yeah, I'm interested to dig in about how you manage the remote teams. Just out of interest, I was thinking, why did you call the company Landbot?
It's pretty obvious if you think about it. So Landbot is all about conversion. It's all about lead generation. And originally, Landbot was the conversational website. So if you mix landing from landing page and chatbot, you get Landbot. So it works. It's intuitive. You know what it means, and we just went ahead with it.
Nice. And originally, we were just talking about this before we started recording. There were 5 co-founders in the company. The company is almost 5 years old, approximately, right?
Yeah, it's actually almost 6 years old. Yeah.
Okay, almost 6 years old. Yeah, and there were 5 of you originally, which is interesting in of itself. Like five co-founders. I guess I'm interested to understand how did the company start? Like, what is the origin story of Landbot?
So the origin story, it's not actually Landbot. So Landbot was an experiment we launched in 2017. We can delve into why we launched that experiment and how successful it was. But originally, we started out with a company called Yexir. I mean, the product itself, everything was called Yexir. And it was a B2C model, so not a SaaS, not a PLG, nothing related to that. It was a B2C model where you had a phone number you could ask anything to. So it was a WhatsApp personal concierge. And it was just a phone number. You could ask for dinner, a gift, travel tickets, whatever. And that was the very beginning. So back in 2015, there was this big trend with conversational commerce. So here in Europe, everybody was looking at China and really, being amazed about how evolved they were in terms of instant messaging, how WeChat was no longer an instant messaging channel, but a platform. And we really believed back then that WhatsApp was going to follow the exact same path, and that everything was going to become way more conversational. So you would start interacting with not only contacts like friends and family, but also companies within WhatsApp. And that was like the first initial thing we started to work on. And there were some similar models back in the day. There was Magic in the United States. I believe they pivoted like 5 times ever since. We had Operator in Germany. So there were some big companies in the conversational commerce space. Our main differentiator was that we were delivering the service through WhatsApp. WhatsApp is huge in the Spanish market. That was our first and only market for the Yexir product, to be honest. And it all started with that. So we had our CEO, Jackie Pan, he's Chinese. So he was really into this conversational commerce trend, and he used WeChat, every single day, and he knew the potential of instant messaging. And we can all remember, I mean, that graph. I don't really know what's the source. I think it's Business Insider, where you see that instant messaging is taking over social messaging. And I think at that exact point, I think it was like 2014 or something like that, many companies started realizing how important instant messaging could become. And we thought that it would be a great way to start. Let's connect people with companies, being us the middleman, and let's provide services, products, and add value to end users through messaging, through WhatsApp in this case.
Yeah. So, okay. So you originally said, just so I understand that product then. So you said you're kind of the middleman between people interacting using WhatsApp. But like, just explain, you said using a phone number, like, can you just explain exactly what the service did? Like, maybe you can give me
exactly. So we would have a landing page, and it was like Yexir, the WhatsApp conversational assistant, right? And we would have a wait list you could register on, and you would put your phone number, and we would be inviting more and more users every week. So when we invited you, we basically share a contact you could send messages to. So it's just a WhatsApp conversation. You're speaking with Yexir, and you start asking for things like, we explain how the service worked. You could order pretty much anything as long as it was legal. And the most recurring orders were related to travel and food. So food delivery. So we can think of the Yexir as, again, that middleman, because instead of interacting with, Amazon's interface or Glovo or Deliveroo, so we were basically in the middle. You don't really need to install any app. You just get a phone number, so it's super convenient. We remember your order, so you can say, hey, remember that thing I ordered back in June? I want to repeat that, and we got your payment information, so it's super frictionless, super convenient for the end user. And that's basically how it worked. Phone number, a lot of people behind that phone number, and you could ask anything to it and have it delivered to your door.
How did you end up with 5 co-founders? Was this just, I don't know, had you worked with these people before? Did you find them and you found that they had really complementary skills? Like, how did that come about?
Yeah, so 4 out of the 5 original co-founders were part of the second batch of Lanzadera, which is an acceleration program from Valencia. It was the second batch in 2014. So back in that year, all of us were, had their own companies. I was the CEO of my own company. Jackie was the CEO of Play for Test, his company too. And Fair, our director of product, and Tony, who back then was our director of technology, were also in the same project. So in 2015, we had all shut down our companies, and we knew each other. We knew that we were, there was a fit, definitely. And we just needed that extra marketing side of things. And that's when we found Fran, who was our CMO. And that's how you make that big cake, right? 5 co-founders. We got technology, we got executive leadership, which is Jackie. I was more towards operations with that B2C model, and then product and marketing. So we got everything like technology, product, marketing, executive, and operations. It sounds like a lot, especially given that most of the time our team was like 7 people and 5 co-founders. But still, I think each one of us would play a huge role in developing a product we didn't even know we were going to develop when we started out with Yexir, but then it turned out to be super convenient to have all these, different sides of the model covered.
So you actually went into the accelerator or with your own businesses, and then how did that come about how did that even happen? How did you end up changing? Where did that original idea come from? And you all closed down your businesses just to go all in on this, or?
So it varied from co-founder to co-founder. So in my personal case, so I think we shut down the company in early 2015. I think Jackie approximately the same time, the first quarter of 2015. I think it was like Q2. So after a year or a couple of years with our previous companies, they all ended up well just not working out, and we decided to just finalize with those projects. So originally, the original group that started with this whole idea was actually Jackie and Fran. So they were our CEO and our CMO. And then they just started, pinging people they knew they were available. They had somewhat interesting skills to join the team. And it just felt natural. So fair. I believe he's not longer with this company, and he's really good at product. And Cris, he can definitely give us a helping hand with operations. And it just felt natural to reunite these 5 people to become co-founders.
Yeah, and did you, in those early days, did you put your own cash in? Did you just bootstrap it? Like, how were you paying your bills and kind of getting by?
Yeah, so for Yexir, we started in another incubator, which is Demium startups. Back in the day, they were only in Valencia, but I believe they're in more than 8 or 10 cities now. And we were super lucky, to be honest, because with all these conversational commerce trend, we found one investor that was super interested in these trend, and he had fresh money from an exit, and he was like, these Chinese guy, he needs to do great stuff in the conversational commerce space, and he believed in it, so he believed in us as well. So we raised our first series even before the company was founded. So we had to delay actually the funding round to the company, to setting up the company. And then, I think it took us probably 8 weeks since we started out with the project to get the first funding round, if you want to call it like that. It was just a single person ticket, and it was around 50,000. So 50,000. We were like 23 years old back in the day, so that was a lot of money for us to run for years. And so that was the initial. We were super lucky, to be honest. Every time we hear these stories about receiving this early funding, in our case, the key was finding that person that really relates to your business model, that really thinks it would be useful for himself in this case, and that just will bet on you. We were, again, super lucky. I think it's not the most common stuff. We had no metrics. We had some traction. We had some orders, but it was nothing big. He just believed in us, and he was like, let's try to make this work.
Seems like you made a good bet. It looks like it paid off.
I believe it did. Yeah.
So you started off with this kind of conversational WhatsApp phone product. How did it go? So, like, kind of what happened in those early days?
Yeah. So I think we ran this service for 6 to 8 months approximately. We handled over 4,000 orders or something like that. We made it to have a team of I think it was 14 agents answering these conversations through the platform. And after 6 months, we had to make this tough decision. So the business model is beautiful. Conversational commerce, you get everything in your fingertips. You can order anything through WhatsApp, and it's beautiful. But the reality is that if we wanted to go ahead with that model, we needed to make 2 decisions: whether we start scaling the team, getting more and more agents. These other competitors I told you about, they were already in the hundreds of agents, and we were only like 12, 14. Or we start adding an artificial intelligence layer that would help us automate as much of the process as we could. The technology was not there for the artificial intelligence part, and the money was not there for the hiring part. And it turns out we had built a platform for ourselves to handle all these orders through instant messaging. And we knew that there were a lot of companies interested in providing this sort of service for their customers using WhatsApp. So we had to make the decision whether we keep betting on this model, which means scaling the team or invest in heavy in technology, or we pivot and we start selling the software. So we become a SaaS company. We know nothing about subscription-based models. We had to learn, I mean, what MRR means and everything, but it made sense because there was a huge unfair advantage, which was the WhatsApp integration back in the time when the API was not even available for the company. So it was really interesting, and a lot of companies were reaching out like, hey, I really want this technology. So it was a no-brainer for us. So let's bet on this model. It was super risky because you had already people that supported your original project and in the very early days, and you might have to explain yourself on why after only 6 months you pivot from a B2C to a B2B SaaS model. It's a huge change, but the core was there. I mean, it's still instant messaging, it's still conversational something, and I think we've always been true to that principle. We think the world can definitely be more conversational, and it was a natural step to go from Yexir to the next adventure, which was Hello Yumi. That was the name of the SaaS company.
Yeah. What was like the main one or two reasons why you decided like, yeah, let's go all in on this B2B subscription? Like, yeah, what was the main reasoning for that?
So number one, I have to it's the product. So we had such a great product, and again, the interest from companies on the WhatsApp integration was skyrocketing. You could take any keyword search engine, and you would notice that there was something huge happening there. And number two, I think it has to do with predictability. So we were really concerned about how we were not really in control of the demand we could generate with Yexir, and we've seen the SaaS model as something way more predictable, which makes it way more attractive to investors. And well, the margins, I mean, all these beautiful stories we hear about selling software, but I would say that the unfair advantage of this technology we had, and the predictability of a model that we could better control. But again, we had probably no idea of what running a SaaS was.
Yeah, it's really interesting though, isn't it? Because building a SaaS company is really, really hard, right? So, I mean, there's just a graveyard full of software companies. So what did you, I guess I'm interested to understand how you got to product market fit. I mean, we're not even a year in and you've already pivoted. It seems like a really, really big decision. And where you are today, you're over 3 million ARR. So kind of what did you guys do next? You made this decision, there's 5 of you, like, okay, we don't really know anything about, B2B software and subscription. Like what was like the next step? Was it to like to build something and to build a website? Like, what were the next steps?
Yeah, so we basically, we had to build a website, we had to build a product page, a pricing page, like all these basics for any SaaS product. So I think that, in the early days, we had a handful of leads that we knew beforehand that were interested in the technology, and that was a very initial traction. So a couple of, I would say 3-4 companies approached us and were like, hey, we want to test this technology. Would you offer it to us? And I think we would even have to create our own login access. Like, it was not really automated, like the whole flow, because we tend to underestimate how complex it is to have something that's truly self-service that happen in the back end, and then you just get new customers. I mean, to get from zero to there, it's super complex. So at the beginning, it was all about us creating the login accounts, handling payments through Stripe, like directly through Stripe, no really pricing or subscription engine. And so it was this initial 4 or 5 customers really interested in the integration. Since it was really powerful, and again, not many providers would offer it, we managed to charge a significant amount for that. So that started adding to our recurring revenue, and that was the initial. So on one hand, it's about building everything around the product, especially the website, the pricing page, the product page, social media, so everybody can look for Hello Yumi and understand what we do, and then getting these first set of customers, which most often came from word of mouth or direct contacts, and then we had very creative ways of finding new customers, and because it was so related to WhatsApp that you could just go to Google Images and look for WhatsApp me, for example, and you will find banners from websites of companies using WhatsApp, like the WhatsApp application to talk to their customers. We would reach out and say, hey, you want to have multi-agent, you want to have metrics, you want to have these and that, and they would just keep signing in. And that was the early days. So first customers from direct contacts, and then just some creative outbound strategies. Yeah.
Okay, so you tried a bunch of different things to get traction in the beginning. Like you said, you have to hustle, right? You have to try these creative ways to get new customers. But were there, in those early days, were there like one or two moves that you can remember, like a product hunt or any of these different channels? Was there like one or two things that really cranked the dial and you saw like a big increase in new customers?
So yeah, we had to wait until the next year. So 2015 we started out with Yexir. Early 2016 we pivoted to the SaaS business model, and it wasn't until 2017 when we released Landbot. So I would say that since the pivot to this B2B SaaS model until 2017, we never really made it to find the product market fit. Our traction was there, but it was nothing spectacular. We were not growing at probably at a double digit, but we're talking about 3 figures MRR. So I think it was a really tough year and a half. There were a lot of things surrounding the WhatsApp integration and the technology that were making it super hard for us to really launch. And so I guess I think we can take it back to the launch of our own channel. So we started with Hello Uni, and we had this Messenger and WhatsApp integration, and we were super dependent on those. And I'm talking about WhatsApp waking up in the morning and saying, hey, I'm going to ban the 1,000 numbers today. And then all of our customers would get banned because the integration was not official. There was not API. And same for Facebook Messenger. We can all remember that summer, I don't know if it was 2016 or 2017, they just, they didn't allow users to create more chatbots. Then they allow them to create chatbots again. So there was a lot of uncertainty. We had Messenger, we had WhatsApp, we had no control over those. So we were like, hey, let's create something ours. Let's create something unique, something we have full control over. Let's create a live chat. And that's how it all started. So we created a live chat. It was nothing special, nothing like any other live chat you could find there. There were like hundreds of competitors. And while it was great having our own product, the reality was that, again, no differentiation means you're dead. Like if they start comparing you to Intercom, to Drift, to these huge players in the market, it's just super difficult for you to justify your value proposition against those. Yeah, you're multi-channel, whatever, but at the end of the day, you're super immature to compete with these giants. So we kept thinking about it. And here comes the interesting story of the origin of Landbot. So it was 2017. I think it was around May. So probably like 4 years ago. And one day we woke up and we started getting support tickets from our customers complaining about their live chats not working properly. We went and checked it out, and surprisingly, for some reason, the live chat that was embedded into their homepage went full screen. But I'm not talking about a real full screen. It was just the iframe that went full screen, which means that the website itself was blocked. So visitors would have only the possibility to start a conversation with our live chat. So it was a huge problem. So we had back in that time, we probably had 30 to 40 customers, and not a huge number, but all of them were complaining like, hey, I installed your website, your live chat, and it's blocking my website, and customers can do nothing but start a conversation. What we found out was that the conversion rate skyrocketed at that time. I think it was probably a 4-hour bug or something like that. So we fixed it quite quickly. But the reality was that if users don't have any other option rather than start a conversation with your live chat, obviously your conversion rate, if you are collecting data with that live chat, is going to skyrocket. And it might sound super obvious, like, they can't do anything. They cannot scroll down. They can just leave their contact details. But we started thinking, hey, what if we, play around with the format of what a live chat is, why a live chat needs to be that bubble. You click on it, it opens on a third of the screen, and you start a conversation while browsing. You're not really paying attention, like full focus to any of the two. So why don't we combine the best of the two worlds? Why don't we take this bug as a learning experience? Like, hey, only the conversation. It's just the conversational experience. You land on a website, you don't see any menus, any way to scroll. It's just a company talking to you, and obviously collecting data. That's what lead generation is all about. And that's how Landbot was originally born, as a bug in our live chat that would skyrocket our conversion rate and our customers. They were not really, getting the big potential behind. They were just angry. We fixed it and it was okay. But in our case, it was like, hey, we went from I think we were converting at a 5%, and we went from a 5 to a 27% conversion rate.
Wow.
From out of 100 visits to our homepage, 27 of them were leaving their email, which was just mind blowing. And we were like, if we can replicate these, maybe not at 5x in conversion rate, but at 2x compared to your regular website, forum, live chat. And that's how it all started. So let's create Landbot, a landing page with a chatbot, a conversational website you can only speak to. It's going to give you information. It's going to request information from you. And we started working on the launch of this experiment. And we did it through, a couple of, we can definitely delve into that, but you might have more,
more
questions.
That's actually, I'm kind of interested to hear the story A through Z. Like how did Landbot kind of get from those early days to where you are now? And this is perfect. So a failed experiment led you to see a huge increase in conversion. You're like, holy shit, we actually have something here. So
Exactly.
What did you do next? What did you do next?
So we started looking for some platforms where we could launch this experiment, this beta product. We first found Betalist. I think they're from, I don't know if they're from Germany or the United States. I don't know if you know, but Betalist is it's a marketplace for beta products to get some early adopters and some beta testers. And we also found Product Hunt, which is a super famous marketplace for new products, where both the big cops and also the small side projects are released. And so we defined a plan. So all right, we got this new concept we want to try out. We need people to try it out and give us feedback, and hopefully gain some early traction. And so let's look for platforms where you can launch this product and get some exposure for free, obviously. So we start with Betalist. I think Betalist, the impact is way smaller than Product Hunt. I think we made it to get around 200 signups or something like that. But it was enough to set up a few calls and understand if they really were interested in building this conversational stuff. And they were. So probably like a month later, we decided to go big, to multiply by 10 that launch and go for Product Hunt. We knew that they had 15 million visitors per month, and the exposure is huge. And we've seen other successful projects and products being launched there before. So we, the whole company, I'm talking about 10 people probably back in the day, we really focused on this launch. So we need to take into account that the previous model was still running. So we were Hello Yumi. We had this conversational, this instant messaging omni-channel platform. And at the same time, we were preparing this big launch on Product Hunt. So the same way we needed a website for our SaaS product, Hello Yumi, we needed a website, which was a conversation, obviously, for Landbot, and we needed to explain some stuff to customers and create that initial sign-up flow and allow them to do some customization. And it was a huge challenge. It was completely new to us, and as you can imagine, like 1,000 things to do. And but we made it. We made it to the launch day. It was a bit erratic.
Sorry to interrupt, Cris. Yeah. So like when you were going for this product launch, was the idea like we need to try and make this thing self-onboarding so people can sign up themselves, they can create an account themselves, they can build it, they can embed it. Like that was the goal, and you got that done, and then you launched.
Good point, yeah.
Yeah. And then, and how does it work with Product Hunt? By the way, multiple people that have been on this podcast also said back in the early days they used Product Hunt to get some traction. But like, how does that work? So you pay them like a commission for every sale, and then is the deal that you have to give like a huge discount? That's kind of how Product Hunt works, or?
Not really. So you don't really need to pay anything to anyone to launch on Product Hunt. What you need is a hunter. That's how they call the people that are allowed to upload these products to the marketplace. So you can become a hunter, but it requires, you need to follow some steps, like have a certain score depending on the number of comments, of likes, and how active you are within the community. So they get different roles within Product Hunt. So whether if you're a hunter or you find one that's willing to upload your product, you talk to him or her and you schedule that launch. So in our case, our initial hunter, if I'm not wrong, it was Cris Messina. Quite famous in this space. He's one of the super big names in the Product Hunt community, the creator of the hashtag, like ex Google, ex Uber, like crazy profile. And we talked to him and we were like, hey Cris, we want to launch this product. You're a hunter, so you're able to do so. Would you do it for us? And all you have to do is prepare some, what they call the hunter's kit, which is a couple of screenshots, a tagline, a logo, a description, and you're good to go. You don't really need to launch any promotion. You don't need to pay anything to anyone. But it's true that most products that launch in Product Hunt come with a promotion. In our case, I think it was something like a 50% off for 6 months or something like that. Something that would empower users to give it a try, because it's a great opportunity in the commercial side as well. So that's how it works. So it's completely free to use. You just need to find the right hunter. If you don't have the permissions to upload products, you prepare the hunter's kit and you launch and you start getting traffic and getting visits. And the way it works is that people can upload products. So you see products and it's like like in Facebook with likes for each product, and you can upload the product, so it creates a scoreboard. And if you made it to the top three, you get a lot of exposure, because you get browser notifications for those that have it activated, like, hey, Landbot just was launched today, the no code conversational chatbot builder. And well, it's important to be on top. So I also heard a lot of stories from founders that talk about not being successful in Product Hunt. And I think it's a huge combination of factors. So I mean, you can have a great product, you can prepare the hunter's kit, you can be ready for the launch with a great promotion, and maybe not have the impact you were looking for. Because I think it's just as important as being prepared in terms of product and hunter's kit. How are you selling your product? It's also how you take advantage of trends. And I think in our case that was key. So we're talking about 2016, chatbots were super hot. And if you combine chatbots with the website space that were not there yet, so it was more chatbots for Facebook Messenger and all these tools. So you combine this conversational user interface trend with this chatbot trend, all in the website, super customizable, not dependency on the third-party channel, and it just exploded. I think it was the right time, right moment, and we really crushed it, to be honest. And
I was going to say, like, how did it go? Yeah, did you make the top three or?
Yeah, we made the top one. We made it the top one product of the day, which Amazing. Means that you get the browser notifications, you get email newsletters, so it keeps nurturing that loop, and you keep receiving more and more and more visits to your product. And I think that within 7 days, probably like 20,000 people talked to Landbot in our website, wow. And we got the first hundreds of signups on those first couple of weeks. So it was a huge success. I mean, it was a too big success for us, to be honest, because as we were mentioning earlier, so a lot of things were not ready yet. So you could pay for Landbot, but it was a shitty experience and it was buggy and you were not really sure where your money was going. But it was, the whole flow would work, but it was like super, super, super early and super alpha. And but we made it. I think that the right time, the right product, and one thing that's important as well is when you launch on Product Hunt, it's not like it ends there. So we launched on Product Hunt and we kept working on the product that day, the next day, and the following one. So it's important to keep iterating that product, especially if you get in some early traction like we did, because otherwise you'll just lose a lot of power of that launch. And it went super, super great, and it really got us thinking, wait, we got more signups in Landbot than in 2 years of our previous SaaS business model. So it might make sense to give it full focus.
I guess the really cool thing as well is that you get tons of users, right? So like you said, you can iterate, you can learn what these people are doing, you can get more feedback, you can change the product. So like once you'd got that injection of users into the customers into the product, were there some things that stood out as like, okay, actually, yeah, we should change this, we should change that? Was like any fundamental learnings from getting all those customers?
I think there were a lot of learnings, but the product was so unfinished that we had a clear set of priorities. So we
Gotcha.
were obviously receiving inputs and feedback in terms of how the building experience could improve or things like that. But again, it was so early that we needed to allow customers to pay. We needed to allow customers to add, I don't know, these blocked, which is super. I mean, we only got 3 block types and one is not working, so we need to fix that. And for example, when it comes to customization, at the beginning you could only change probably a couple of colors in the font, and we knew that it was super important for us to allow it to be super customizable. So we did have a lot of receive a lot of feedback from users, but at the same time we were really aware of where we need to work on to become really a self-service, because that was our main aim and you mentioned it earlier. So we really wanted to become self-service, and that comes with a lot of sub processes you need to nail down, from the sign up, login, payment process, the offboarding. We usually forget about like how these customers are going to stop paying and what are you going to get from those customers that churn in terms of information or feedback. So it's all about building this process, and that was the main priority at the beginning. And then we kept once everything was working, once a customer could sign up, log in, build a chatbot, have conversations, and churn, that was the right time to start iterating the product itself, adding more features and listening to users' feedback.
Yeah, so it sounds like you've the story so far. You had 2 big moments. One was obviously the original pivot. The second one was this product hunt. You got a bunch of users. And when I look at Landbot today, and like full transparency, people listening, Landbot is actually a client of ours. We run your PPC, so I actually understand the marketing like under the hood. And what's super cool about Landbot is you have tons of organic content. You rank really highly for a bunch of organic keywords. You also have like community. You kind of like have done all the right things, and that's kind of got you where you are today. But was there like another milestone after that that stands out as kind of like, yeah, we also did this and that also gave us another big spike? Or was it just after that you just doubled down on those priorities you just said, you started building content? Like, yeah, what was next, if there was a standout moment? Or was it just incremental after that point?
Yeah, I think at that point I would say it was pretty much incremental. So probably the key moment was when our revenue from Landbot surpassed our revenue from the previous model. I think that
Yeah.
was, I mean, you can have early great feedback, you can have great feelings, intuition, hunches, whatever you want to call it. But when you start making more money with that experiment than you were making with the previous business model, I mean, that's
The
the
numbers
best
don't lie.
indicator you can have. Yeah. So it's not, nobody's going to argue why are you changing from Hello Yumi to Landbot, because you're making more money and you're getting more traction. So I think it was more of an incremental change. We started seeing how more and more customers would become early adopters, and yeah, it was a super easy decision at that time. I think it
Yeah.
took us probably a couple of months or 3 to have a bigger customer base for Landbot than we had for Hello Yumi. And then there was this process of merging everything and making all as a single piece as possible, explaining to the previous customers what Landbot was all about, why we would change the name from Hello Yumi to Landbot, what our website was talking about these when he was originally talking about these. And that's also important. If you think about it now, it's like, man, it was 20 customers. Like,
Yeah.
you don't really need to spend too much effort on explaining everything. But at that time, it's super important. Personally, every single customer you have, at least we did, by name and surname, and you could call any of them and get feedback. So it was super important for us to make them understand why Landbot was launched, why we think we should double down on it, and how things are going to change from here onward. So it's that incremental change.
One of the mistakes that I personally made, and I've seen with with many other companies as well, is like knowing where to focus and like spreading yourself too thin. Because back in those days, like you said, you had all these different priorities. You got to build the product. You got like all these things that take up so much time and resources. How,
Hmm.
let's say, when the revenue surpassed, and like how did you approach growth, and how did you kind of choose where to double down, or did you kind of do all sorts of different things, collect data, and then double down in like certain areas? Like basically, how did you approach growth in those early days when you had such little resources? Because I have made the mistake of spreading myself too thin, trying to do loads of different things and kind of doing them poorly. Like, did you guys make that same mistake, or did you just kind of like find your growth channels early on?
I think we were lucky to find at least one growth channel early on, which was Product Hunt itself. So during the next year, I believe we launched 3 times on Product Hunt. So every launch, if you would have a look at our signups graph, for every launch you would see that spike, and that would be enough for us to grow at a double-digit rate. So the way we saw it was, we want to go from, I don't know, I think we were from 3 to 35 or something like that, from 3K MRR to 35K MRR. And to get there in, let's say, 8 months, we need to grow at this rate. And to grow at this rate with the current conversion rate, we need these amount of users. And we don't really have money to pay for those users in terms of paid acquisition or things like that. So we found this channel, Product Hunt, that was super successful in the first launch. So let's just try to replicate it. Let's keep adding more and more features to the product and justify that next launch. And let's get more users, more signups, more customers, and let's repeat. I mean, if it works, just if you, as long as you can, use the channel like a channel like Product Hunt, I think it's clever to keep using it. And that was our case. So if we combine those launches with some media exposure we got from, we had some context from our previous projects like Yexir and Hello Yumi, and they would want to cover this new shift to a conversational website because it was very cool. I mean, it was noticeable. It was interesting for readers. So if we combine that Product Hunt exposure with this media, completely free efforts we made, that was enough. I mean, we had enough signups to keep us alive, to keep us growing, and eventually raise our pre-seed series in 2018. So it felt natural. It's just reverse engineering. Where do you want to be in 8 months from now? How much you need to grow, and you just start building that funnel. Like, how many people I need on top? Is Product Hunt going to be enough? If it's enough, just focus on that. I need maybe some media. Let's focus on media. If it wouldn't have been enough, we would have probably explored like paid acquisition way earlier or things like that. But it wasn't really necessary to get to the next step.
I didn't know you guys had done 3 separate product elements, which is super smart. Because I mean, it doesn't cost anything, like you said. So, and especially the fact you had such big increases in new customers as well. So, anybody wanted to gain traction as a SaaS company, Product Hunt seems to be a good choice. But I guess, like you said, you have to be in the right moment, right? Like you said, the conversational chatbots were like, hot at that time, which kind of leads nicely on to another question about positioning. Positioning is super important, right? Like in the SaaS space, I mean, it's exploding, right? Chatbots, there are so many different chatbot providers. Like, how do you think about positioning, today, and, how are you approaching, Landbot's unique position in the market?
Positioning, it's a huge topic. And like what you said, with this market saturation, like there are probably, only chatbot builders, we probably have, I don't know, 100 different options we can all think of, sort of. But there are a lot of options out there. So positioning becomes super, super duper important. So the way we approach it, it's important to mention that we were lucky enough to participate in a positioning workshop with April Dunford. I think she's probably the #1 SaaS positioning expert in the world, and she really helped us with this. But in the early days, we had no April. We had no resources to hire April, so we were. It was more about intuition. In the early days, we really wanted. So the way we reasoned positioning was, what do we want? Which tool we want our customers to exchange for Landbot. So what are they currently using that's going to be switched to Landbot? And we would just position ourselves there. So we knew we were in the lead generation space, data collection, and we got different players there. We got form builders on one hand. It can be like SaaS form builders like JotForm or SurveyMonkey, or it can be just a WordPress plugin that's a form. We had also this live chat space with Drift, Intercom, with these automations and also some sort of lead generation. So in the early days, it was more about, hey, let's compete with these, let's position ourselves around these two sides of the spectrum. We are not a forum, we are not a live chat, we're like a combination of both. We're a data collection chatbot, and it just felt natural to position ourselves there. And also I have to say that the customers' feedback helped us a lot here, because obviously when you ask customers, where are you coming from, and they tell you, hey, Typeform and Typeform and Typeform and JotForm, and you start understanding where in the mind of the customer you're positioned. Because at the end of the day, I mean, positioning is all about when you want your users or customers to compare you with something, what's that you want them to compare you to? Because if you position your company right, it'll be a no-brainer for them to choose Landbot over any other competitor. And I think that's the key. So in the early days, it was super useful for us to listen to customers with which tools were they using in the past and why they switched to Landbot. And again, this form builder, live chat, data collection space was where we felt the most comfortable. That was early in the days of Landbot. And then a couple of years later, or a year and a half, we went through this amazing workshop with April Dunford, and then we made it. I mean, it was a way deeper exercise, and it took us 3-4 days, full focused only on positioning, following a framework that's proven to work, and then we narrowed it down way more, and we well, we went through these series of exercises to understand who we really are and what's our value proposition and where we are in the mind of our customers and where we want to be in the next 6 or 12 months in the mind of our customers. Is it the same place? Is it a different one? So you need to make decisions on how to get there. And right now, I would say it's something that changes, and we're going to do some positioning workshops soon again. But I think right now we're more comfortable in this chatbot builder space, because we know that it's going to be feasible for us to fight the contenders that are in this space, because positioning is also a super strategical subject. Like, you can decide who you want to fight against, and then who you don't really want to fight. And if you're clever enough to anticipate these potential fights, you can position your company in one space or another. So yeah, I mean, it's a huge topic. It's very abstract, but you can definitely get it to be super practical. And yeah, that was sort of it. I don't know if that answered your question at all.
No,
you could definitely delve
does.
into it a bit more.
No, and thank you. Just for context as well, April will be, thanks to you, you gave us an introduction. April will be coming on this podcast in a few episodes, so we can dig in a bit more to positioning. Like you said, it's a huge subject, right? There's some good advice. Let's talk about sales. So does your current role encompass sales as well?
Not now. It
No.
was during 2020. I was leading both sales and customer success. Now we've hired a VP sales to join the team. But yeah, I mean, sales. I can share a bit more the story about.
Do.
Yeah, because originally Landbot is a PLG self-service company, and 100% of our customers would come in self-service mode. Obviously, support, success, all these things would contribute to conversion rate, but it was essentially self-service. So at one point, after raising our pre-seed series in 2018, so we had some money in the bank, and we wanted to increase our headcount and to start testing new go-to-market strategies. So we were like, all right, so we are 100% self-service now, but our average ticket was around $60 per month or something like that. And we wanted to sell 5 times, 10 times more expensive than that. Well, we needed to do that. The sales team. That was our basic reasoning.
Of course.
We don't really need a different product. We don't need more features. We just need the sales team to sell it 5 times more expensive. So yeah, so we started testing these go-to-market, this initially it was outbound. And I think this was one of the huge mistakes. Like if you're a PLG self-service company and you're just testing out new go-to-market strategies, probably going for outbound, which is at the other side of the spectrum. It's not it could work, and we all heard of stories where the initial sales-driven motion starts with outbound and it's super successful. But I would say that for a company like ours, it wouldn't make that much sense. And it turned out, it sort of worked. So back in 2018, we built our sales team. Initially 2 people, but it scaled to 9 people within a year. So we got the whole pack: consultancy, Salesforce license, everything, processes over processes over processes. We had market researchers, sales development representatives, account executives, sales manager, the whole pack. And the reality is that you need way more than a sales team to sell more. So adding more go-to-market strategies is not what you need to sell more. You really need to think about who are you selling to. If you want to sell at a higher price point, having a sales team is not enough to justify that. You need to accompany that with service and product. And I think that was one of our main early mistakes. So in the initial sales times, we were not really selling that much. But then something happened, which was the WhatsApp API integration. And if we would try to sell Landbot 10 times more expensive to customers, same offering, just because you got a dedicated customer success manager where you can sell it at 500, that's not going to work. But then all of a sudden, WhatsApp released their API and made it public. And that changed completely the sales-driven motion. So they now had an excuse to sell at a higher price point because there was a clear feature, clear differentiation. The customers were willing to pay because, hey, you had all these in the professional plan, but if I go to the business plan, I got the WhatsApp integration. Shut up and take my money. And it sort of worked in the early months. But then we faced what I believe many startups face, which is some sort of misalignment between the individual contributors of our sales team, the manager of that sales team, and the executive team of that company. So, well, we all heard these stories about, if you don't properly set quotas, targets, then some free riders starts to happen. And we came to a point where we were sort of selling with this 9 people sales team, but it was not contributing as much as the self-service model, which, by the way, we were investing 0 on when it was the main engine of the company. So it's like, come on, we come from a self-service model. It's working great. We had a sales-driven motion. We invested a lot of resources on that, and it's still not, it's still not contributing as much as we wanted to. So after a year and a half with that sales team, we decided to take a step back and go back to basics. And by back to basics, I mean what I was explaining at the beginning. So going from a self-service to an outbound sales-driven motion, I think it's a huge step. So there are some middle things you can do. And one is, building an inside sales team. So why don't we take the natural step of being more proactively selling when we having conversations with our customers? I think it feels more natural than having people doing cold calling to the United States for no reason. So we went back to basics. So we had a 9 people team. We went back to 4 people. We were lucky enough to be able to redistribute some sales team members into marketing, customer success, and some other teams, which was also great for the team. And we decided to merge sales and customer success. And we've seen this structure in some other PLG companies, and we thought it just made sense. So if you really want to align with your customers, if you want to sell the value, the closer you can get to customer success, the better. So I think customer success, understood as customer success support and all that, it's I would say the cornerstone of customer understanding. So if you're able to merge that sales team that's hungry, that looks for quotas, that just wants to sell more and more and more, with these other approach where these folks really want to help customers and they really want to understand what the customers are at and they want them to be successful. So it worked. it worked. We merged the both teams. We went to an inside sales approach where you are super supportive. You use intercom. Hey, I'm this. I can help you out with this or that. So it's not like you're only selling, you're supporting. So supporting is the new selling was one of our mottos in the early days. So let's stop cold calling. Let's stop, overselling. Let's focus on the customer needs. And if you have to sell a 30 euro plan, sell it. I mean, you don't need to sell everything above 500. And it worked. It worked during the whole 2020. And that was when I was leading the sales team. And it was super great. I mean, the sales team became product experts. They were super aligned with the team. Since they were handling full cycle, there were no, crazy handoffs between SDRs and account executives and then hand it over to customer success. So it felt way smoother, the whole flow. Our ticket was lower, that's for sure, but our customers would retain 3 times better than with the previous sales motion. So inside sales, full cycle approach, merging customer success and sales was probably the best decision we could ever make to our sales team, especially being a PLG self-service, mainly self-service company.
Super cool. Yeah, it's really, really good advice. Well, let's come full circle because we're coming to the end of our time. When I look at our relationship with Landbot started roughly a year ago, so it's really interesting actually for me to hear the origin story, because when I look at Landbot today, the way that you've positioned the 2 products side by side, the way that it's all self-serve, the onboarding process, the marketing, like everything's like super on point. But it's like a really interesting journey you had to come along and all those learnings along the way. But like, where are you guys at today? So you probably have decent money in the bank. You're hiring for different positions. I know you're stress testing your go-to-market strategy. You're doing these positioning workshops. But like, kind of where are you at today? And like, what is the focus for Landbot now? Over the next for 2021.
Yeah, so all I have to say 2 things. So number one is keep stress testing our go-to-market strategy. So the same way we went back to basics and we merged sales and customer success for 2020, right now it's separated again, and we brought in a VP sales, Raul. He's coming from Pipedrive. We're super happy to have him. And so we are, now that we nailed down the natural sales process for a PLG company in the early days, we want to go back to the full motion with different steps and going up market. So I think that's going to be one of the main focus for 2021. Scaling that sales team. Now we know way more about the processes and the product and how we can market things, and we got these crazy experts coming from other super successful companies. That's going to be one of the main focuses in 2021. And the other one is definitely going to be activation. Activation for us is number one. It should be your number one priority, like, period. I mean, if you properly activate, pretty much, I mean, the rest will come. So you'll convert users into paying customers, you'll retain paying customers, you'll expand those paying customers. So it took us a while to understand the importance of activation, but I think that now we did. I mean, I would say 70% of the companies focused on activation, whether that's post conversion with all these onboarding, concierge onboarding processes, whether it's pre-activation with our platforms onboarding and all. I mean, it's activation. We understand activation, by the way, as the point from sign up, from getting to just know and test the tool until you build that habit around it. So I mean, you divide that into setup, and habit. I mean, there are many frameworks out there, but this is the basics. And then you start building that funnel, and which steps do every user need to make to become really, really successful with the product. And that's our main goal. That's our main focus, because, as I was saying before, unfortunately, and it happens to many SaaS products, probably plus 90% of your signups are not really getting anything out of your product. Mm-hmm. And you keep investing more and more and more in that 10%, and you want the number of top to be bigger, so that 10% gets bigger to you. But why don't you try to go for a 15 or a 20 or a 30% of that sign up base that you're not making it to activate? And I think it's the most clever investment you can make. So focus on activation, focus on the early stage of that user or customer, because companies with such a short sales cycle have this problem. It's sometimes hard to differentiate between users and customers. I think our median sales cycle for the self-service part is probably, I don't know, 5 days. It really varies, but it's super fast. So yeah, activation for us is paramount. And if you want to play with the big cups, if you want to raise Series B, C, D, you better have that net dollar retention of month 12 really, really looking good. Or if not, you're gonna have ugly conversations with VCs all over the way. So yeah, I think activation is our main focus right now.
Wow, it's incredible advice. Cool. Okay. Last question, more of like a personal one. It's funny. I've asked this question a few times, and everybody kind of struggles with this one. So I'm interested to see how you take it. But like, how do you protect your time? Like, how do you when you come to work, in the day? Like, actually, funny enough, before we started recording, you were like, "Man, I just came from 3 meetings. It was like 11 a.m. From 3 meetings. You're like, I need to shift gears." But like, how do you protect your time? How do you make sure that you're productive and you're not letting people steal time away from you? Like, how do you prioritize and protect your
time? I have to say I've tried a million things, from the Eisenhower metrics to blocking slots in your calendar. I came to a conclusion that, and with every single one-on-one I have with my team, time management it's probably the biggest challenge we have today with this attention economy and whatever you want to call it. So I think I think that every individual will have to find what really works for him. I've tried pretty much everything, and what I found out, and I think it's a good piece of advice. So what I try to do every single day is, when I'm doing things that I think I'm not really adding value doing them, I just write them down in my notebook, like physical notebook with a pen. So for example, if I am making some adjustments in our MRR because our financial platform is not getting data correctly, I just write that down. Like I think this could be automated, or there could be someone that's handling billing, for example, that could do it better than me. So if you write down all those things where you don't really add value, and you take some time in your week to whether automate it or talk to the right person that would handle it more efficiently because they are already handling those topics. If you can get rid of 2-3 processes of these every single week, you'll definitely notice. And it happened to me, and that was one of my goals for 2021. So just write down all those things you think that can be whether automated or delegated to the right person, because you're not switching from one thing to another. And and one day you'll notice that you'll still have a million things to do, but at least you're not doing those old stuff, and you can keep focusing on the next ones. I think it's not about finding the perfect moment where your calendar is empty and you get time for deep focus. No, I think it's not about that. It's about being able to tackle the challenges of the future and not sticking to the challenges of the past when you can automate those or delegate those. But yeah, I think it's a super complex topic. I've tried blocking slots in my calendar and it never worked. Personally, it never worked. It's super hard for me. And so I think just making these short lists of things you can avoid doing in the future by automating them or delegating them, it's probably the most straightforward piece of advice regarding time management.
Love it. That was the best answer I had. So nice. Like it. Well, listen, Cris, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you doing this. And where can people follow you, reach out to you if they want to?
Well, yeah, I'm not super active on Twitter or things like that, but I really get on with my network on LinkedIn. So they can look for me on LinkedIn, Cris Villar. And I'll be more than happy to connect. I'm always sharing calendar links with anyone that asks for it to share thoughts. So yeah, more than happy to connect.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, and speak soon.
It's been a pleasure, Todd. Thank you.